You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine Combat Veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.
Republicans and Democrats.
All right, folks, well, happy Saturday morning. This is Finding Common Ground, coming to you live right now from KLRNradio.com. Our usual used-to-be Saturday home, unfortunately, due to Bryce Robbins being elected to public office in his hometown, we've had to place the show on an hiatus, so this is actually the semi-official, unofficial last episode. We have a couple of folks that are actually considering picking up the mantle for FCG, so it may continue at a later time in another time slot, but for now, this is the So Long episode, so of course it's entitled just because I'm a nerd, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. And I do have the original co-host with me, back when this was Wobbles and Nubs Presents My 2 Cents. One Mr. Dave Brown is actually coming back out of retirement, pulling off the mothballs and ditching the library for the day to hang out with us for the last episode with us doing the show.
That I am. It's good to be back, and I've just, for the longest time after we found out Bryce's job prevented him from doing regular radio gigs, which I can understand. I thought this show needs a fitting end, and even if someone picks up the mantle or we get a show on the network that is, it's our version of Hannity and Combs, rest in peace Combs, then, it's still, this has done its thing. And it is, for those who don't realize or who've not been around for the whole run of this craziness, this is the show that started this entire mess. So it is Rick Robinson's, it's his vision, his dream. And I just helped to annoy him on a weekly or sometimes daily basis when we were really stupid trying to do this. And yeah, so I thought this needed a proper end. And it just so happened I was able to get a Saturday off.
If you count the Facebook page, sometimes it was a minute-by-minute basis.
Oh, my God. And that's the insanity of that. I remember on more than one occasion, I would piss somebody off somewhere on some other page. And poor Rick here is like running around trying to put out fires. I'm like, well, fuck these people. Screw them. Whatever.
And I'm like trying to network with people and build our page growth and let them know that we're launching a show. And he's just over here like pissing in people's post toasties. And I'm like, really, dude? Come on now. I'm trying to work over here.
Well, yeah. I mean,
funny thing is, most of the really decent ones actually hung around, and now half of them do shows on the network. So I guess it worked out.
See, that's awesome. Yeah, what the things you can do, ladies and gentlemen. The things you can do. But yeah, but it's been a while. So we actually haven't even had the show since the election of Senor Bad Hombre Trump. So there's a lot to discuss, even besides just saying our goodbyes and whatnot. So what have your thoughts been on yeah.
Does that pretty much sum up my thoughts on the election?
Wow. It's so bad. It is so So bad. So how much hate have you gotten for all of your anti-Trumpness?
Well, see, here's the thing, because I've shifted a little bit, but only a little bit, because now he's president. So I'm trying to do the same thing that I did for Barack Obama that lasted probably maybe 6 months or so. And I'm trying to call out things that I see that I agree with, and then I'm calling out the things that I don't agree with. So what winds up happening is no matter which stance I take, I'm either a liberal baby-hating murderer or I am a Nazi. So I'm just like, I'm just over here being me, so F you.
Nice. Okay. Well, I feel your pain. I get that kind of stuff too. Yeah, man. So let's talk about what is something that you think he has done right so far.
Well, you're not going to agree, but one of the things that I like is the fact that they are working to rein in the EPA, because I think it has become an overburdened, power-hungry, money-grubbing monster. And I don't think it needs to be involved in a lot of the things that it's been in. Another thing that I've liked that he's done so far is, that he said he was going to do so far that hasn't happened, is working on fixing the mess that is Obamacare. But the problem is the Republicans and the now head of the Republican Party are on completely different pages when it comes to that, and nobody was paying attention to the fact that during his 60 Minutes interview, he actually said he wanted a portion of government-run healthcare, and the Republicans were like, because everybody's giving them a hard time, and with good reason, because they deserve it. But at the same time, when Obama was in office, they voted to repeal Obamacare 66 times. They actually put a package on his desk and forced him to veto it to remove Obamacare. And now that Trump is in office, instead of sending up the same exact package, they started trying to change a few of the internal pieces and add an extra letter, and they changed the ACA to the AHCA, and all of a sudden they went, "Woohoo, America, we fixed it, yay!" And they didn't do anything because it was really basically just the same bill with more crap. And that's my thing. But what I don't think they realized, and it was one of the things that we were screaming at that were on this side of the argument the entire time. As a Republican, you cannot basically go to war with a Republican president over a bill. You can't, because it makes your party look even more divided than it already is. So when they realized that he was for socialized medicine, their whole plan had to change. And so it all fell apart and nobody knew what to do, and it's just been a mess. And the other issue that I have with all of it is the Republican Party has not done a very good transition from being the minority party to the leadership party, because they're still acting like the minority party. And I'm overall with everybody, I'm tired of political musical chairs. Because that's what we've seen during this entire transition, is now everything the Democrats used to do that was terrible, the Republicans are now doing the same thing, and everything that the Democrats used to do that was great is now terrible because the Republicans are doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that hypocrisy is it's just always mind-numbing to watch, and it happens every time, and it's gross. I mean, it really is. It's like they get this attitude, well, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. And but I'm like, no, just stop that. And yeah, and that's my whole argument sometimes on certain things. I'm like, okay, well, if this thing that your guy is doing, if you're okay with it right now, if we switch it around and we put this other person in power doing that same thing, are you going to be mad? And if the answer is yes, then the person that you like shouldn't have the ability to do it either. It's not that hard.
And that's been, and see, now I'm catching crap because, the Senate went nuclear to confirm Gorsuch. And I'm like, look, you guys were irritated as hell when the Democrats did that to you. And now you are doing the exact same thing. And what's going to happen in 4 or 8 years when the other side gets a turn, and now you don't like the person they're trying to put up for Supreme Court, and now you can't really stop them because of the decision you've made today.
Exactly. And from all accounts, I mean, I don't follow all the in-depth details. So I don't know a whole lot about Gorsuch, however the crap you pronounce his name. We'll call him G. So I don't know a whole ton about him.
That. Grouchy's going to get mad.
Why?
Because that's what he calls himself G. He's like
okay.
Oh, no, I'm just playing. Anyway, no, it's Gorsuch.
So, that, whatever. But from what... But I've heard some interviews with him here and there, and he's conservative, but he doesn't seem completely unreasonable. And it's like he's okay. Antonin Scalia was the one who's gone, and so if you put someone in there who's basically Antonin Scalia, essentially, the court really hasn't changed all that much. And I know the court is a huge battle. And I would not be surprised if there are people on the court right now that had been thinking, well, I'm going to retire. And then the election happened and they said, well, I'm not going to retire anytime soon. So that's probably, I suspect, going down. I don't know. It's such a mess, and it's such a poop show right now. And it's something we have talked about ad nauseum over the years, is people get so concerned with their ideology that they don't worry about actually governing, and it just becomes well, I'm going to take this stance because this is my stance, and I'm not actually going to try to do anything reasonable for the American people, the people who pay my paycheck, kind of thing, and nothing gets done, and you get a bunch of extreme kooks elected. Because that's how the system works, thanks to gerrymandering, thanks to the way our primaries work. It's just so out of balance, so grotesquely out of balance, and no one, especially the commentators, no one wants to admit that governance from the middle is the best kind of governance there is. Take a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, that's what you do when you're cooking, right? You want to make a good pot of chili, you get a little bit of this, a little bit of that, throwing some of this, throwing some of that, and that's what makes it delicious. If it is just ground beef, then all you have is ground beef.
Just for the record, Spreaker Skype kind of cut out there for just a second. I could have swore you said that's what you do when you're hooking, is try to grab from the middle. I'm like, what?
No, I'm not talking about reach arounds. No.
I was like, okay, so Dave's taking this show in an entirely different direction. Then you started talking about chili, and I'm like, oh, he said cooking. Okay. But here's my, like I said, my issue with all of it is we spend the first 6 months of a presidency doing political musical chairs. You know, there used to be this kind of unwritten common courtesy that when the voters decided to change parties, that party pretty much, within reason, got to do what they wanted to do with their cabinet picks, their Supreme Court justices, etc. Nobody does that anymore. And here's what finally set off the Republicans, and I understand why they went nuclear. I don't agree with the fact that they did, because I think at this point they're playing checkers when they should have been playing chess. Because they could have continued to hammer this until they actually got them to agree and made them understand why this was going to be their choice. Because the thing that irritated a lot of Republicans, and I've actually spoken to a couple lower-level Senate assistants off the record, that basically they said the thing that's been irritating everybody is the fact that, you know, the Democrats will come out and specifically say that this man is qualified for the job, but he's still not the pick that we want here, so the Republicans need to come back to us and make another pick. When you're telling the people that you're opposing that the person is qualified for the position, but you don't like them, that's not a good enough reason, and that's not a good enough reason no matter who says it. And the fact that they're now basically stomping their feet because the Republicans toward the end of Obama's term said that, you know, we're going to hold off on this and let the people decide with a vote before we decide who picks the next Supreme Court justice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Democrats did the same thing at the end of GWB's term. Now, of course, the Republicans were just as angry as the Democrats at the end of that one, but this is actually a pretty long-standing kind of tradition, is towards the end of a lame duck term, they don't usually allow Supreme Court picks to happen because there's an election coming up, and they want the American people to kind of be able to decide which way the country goes based on how they vote. So, I mean, I understand. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, actually, during the Reagan administration, if I remember correctly, right toward the end, he had a Supreme Court pick, and it went through. We've had precedent both ways. And it was, and I know it was a Democrat who came up with this whole, well, it's 1 year. If it happens within the last year, we shouldn't do anything, which is just cockamamie. But it's another great example of, well, I'm going to say something because you're in power and I'm not, and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to change it up as soon as the shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah, but I mean, and again, I know there's precedent on both sides, but I'm just tired. I'm tired of the indignation, because at this point we know how this is going to go, and we know that, you know, when you are the party that's potentially on the way out towards the end, you're not going to get the things that you want, because that's just the way things have become. But for the Democrats to, again, and look, say what you want about Gorsuch, but the one thing that I loved during his confirmations was the Senate kept asking him for his personal opinions on things like abortion. He's like, I'm not here to give you my personal opinions. My job is to uphold the Constitution and the law. I like that answer, because I don't want judges that are leading based on their own, or making decisions based on their own opinions. We need judges that will make opinions based on the letter of the law. That's what a judge is supposed to do. And that's, I think, one of the things that actually irritated a lot of the Democrats, was because they seemed to, and this is going to annoy some people, but I'm just being honest, they seem to like activist judges that will take, legal precedent and mix it with some opinion and go, well, this is how I think this should go, so this is what's going to happen. I don't think we need activist judges. I think we need judges that understand the letter of the law, understand the Constitution, and they do what they need to do to make sure that that is kept in balance. There's a reason that the statue of Lady Justice is blind, because no opinion is supposed to come into this. It's supposed to be based on the law. It's not supposed to be impacted by what you see or feel. It's supposed to be basically a measure of the law. That's what justice is about. And the civil court system works just the same way. This is about balance. It's about the law. And I like the fact that on pretty much every time anybody tried to get him to give them a personal opinion on anything, he basically said, my opinion's irrelevant. I'm here to uphold the law. I like that. Now, if he actually does that, that'll be one thing. My concern is, was he saying what he thought people wanted to hear?
Yeah, I think that's the proper answer, and that's the answer people should give. Asking someone their personal opinion on stuff to understand where their philosophy is coming from is also not an unreasonable question. It's not unreasonable to say, to want to know, okay, we understand that this is how you look at the law, and this is how you make your judgments, but we need to understand your personal philosophy to try to extrapolate how we think you will interpret the law based on your own philosophy and your own worldview. That is not an unreasonable question. But his base answer is not an unreasonable answer. As far as the whole activist judges thing goes, there are activist judges all over the place on both sides of the aisle. And I know that's a catchphrase that the folks on the right love to use. It's fine. It's a good catchphrase. It catches on. It gets people riled up, whatever. But they're activists all over the place doing crazy, stupid, kooky crap. And it's just, to sit back and go, well, one team does it and the other team doesn't is silly. On some days, one team does it more than others. On other days, the other happens. As we've been talking about in this whole show, it doesn't matter. Philosophy doesn't matter as much when you're in power, other than we're going to hold. Okay, so let me rephrase that. Tactics don't matter. If there's a tactic that you piss and moan about, as soon as you're the one who can employ said tactic, it's okay. So some of this is tit for tat. So we get people who are, like the low level folks that you talk to. They're like, oh man, we're so annoyed that this is happening and this was done to us, and so we're going to show them what it feels like. Well, and people do this so often in conversations and in, for lack of a better term, debate. And it's, employing this while it's an understandable human reaction will never solve anything.
No, you're right. I actually was coughing and kind of forgot my mic was muted. So yeah. Anyway, I want government, especially Congress, to work together again, and they don't. And I really don't understand why they don't, because I honestly think some of this animosity they seem to display for one another in front of the cameras, I'm starting to feel like it's all a show. Because when you catch them privately, they're like talking, they're hanging out, they're clapping each other on the back, they're grinning from ear to ear. But then they go onto the floor at the House, and all of a sudden, and the well of the Senate, and all of a sudden they cannot stand one another. I don't.
Well, you want to know?
Go ahead.
I know. Here's a good answer for that. Because of all of the talking heads, can you imagine what would happen if the Hannitys of the world and the Limbaughs of the world, and Twitter saw, I don't know, who's the top Republican in the Congress right now? Blanking on names. Is it Mitch McConnell?
No, he's the top. He's the majority leader of the Senate. For the House, it's
Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan.
Imagine the shit storm that would happen if there was a video of Paul Ryan and Nancy Pelosi hanging out, laughing, sharing a beer. Can you imagine? People would lose their ever-loving minds. They would call both of them traitors.
I don't have to imagine, because there was actually Ted Cruz during the campaign went to a funeral, and the Obamas were going to the same funeral, so he hitched a ride on Air Force One, and there were pictures taken of him getting off the plane, and everybody had a cow on both sides.
That is why. So who do we blame? Partially, we blame ourselves, because we behave like morons. And to me, it's like, I think, when did this really start? I keep going back to the Clinton years. Things were divisive before then, but starting in the Clinton administration, when rules about the media had changed thanks to deregulation in previous administrations, and then the internet was born, and all of that, and society really started to self-segregate and get real niched, and people got real vocal, and then some of these really vocal people started making a lot of money by basically being a-holes. And that was it. And it has gone downhill since then. Elected officials are damned if they do, damned if they don't. There are very few that have had the gumption to just say, no, this person is my friend. Tom Coburn is one of them. Tom Coburn gave no Fs. He did not care who he pissed off, and I miss that. He pissed off the entire Republican Party on multiple occasions. He hung out with Barack Obama, smoked cigars, drank who knows what. They were really close friends. He did not care. And that is what's completely missing. Also, there's the fact that to some extent these folks are living in like separate dorm houses for Pete's sake. There are, you've heard stories of both, especially the Republicans, but the Democrats do it as well, of there being separate living where they have to go and live in these almost dormitories where the freshman Congress folks come in, and it's like, no, you can't even associate with these other people. This is stupid. And this is why it gets so crazy, because it's so much easier and more advantageous, and it's easier to sell books, get more clicks, and all of this and that if you demean people and turn them into the other, and you don't think of them as individuals. They're just these other people that we don't like. They're this other group that we don't like. And it's a groupthink mentality, and it's pretty screwed up.
You know, and that's honestly one of the things that has been bugging me now, especially throughout this last election cycle, is I think we have allowed ourselves to become way too divided. We have seen, I mean, it's just like you were talking about. People have actually begun to self-segregate. And now even worse, because now we even have the entire African American community starting to talk about having their own police force, their own monetary system. So it just seems like everything is going backwards. But we'll have to talk about this a little bit more when we get back. It is actually officially time for the break, so we're going to have to take a really quick break. When we come back, more on the farewell episode of Finding Common Ground, unless we can find a way to get somebody else to pick it up. I'm a little sad that since this is a show that started it all, I think this is one reason why I've kind of been putting off the farewell episode, because I don't know, it just seems bad that the show that actually launched everything is kind of going on the shelf. But anyway, we'll be back here in about 4 minutes. Don't go away. This is Finding Common Ground, coming to you live right now on KLRNradio.com. Hope everybody's having a great Saturday. We'll be right back.
It's common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.
Republicans and Democrats.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hey, this is John Preston, Marine combat veteran and Pacific Records recording artist. Just reaching out to have you check out our new album, Battle Cry, Songs of America's Heroes, an album featuring phenomenal other combat veteran artists like Scott Brown of the Scooter Brown Band, Ryan Weaver, Rowdy Johnson, just an incredible mix of people. This is all veterans telling our stories and our lives, and we're giving 100% of our proceeds to the Valkyrie Initiative to help veterans and first responders integrate back into society. I myself have battled with post-traumatic stress for many years and lost my own brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to suicide. I ask that you step with us and make this happen. We are in pre-order right now and release on March 17th. Go to iTunes, go to Amazon, buy. We plan on making the charts and making it at a very high level, and your support right now makes a difference. This is the release of my new song, Superman Falls, which is actually about the loss of my own brother, which happened last year, and I would love for everyone to check it out, to listen, and hopefully it'll make a difference in many lives.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Sometimes riders feel lost, unsure why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing into full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, offering manuscript critiques and line edits through a mentoring editorial style. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services, visit blackwolfeditorial.com.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
They say we offer simple answers to complex, but perhaps there is a simple answer.
All right, folks, welcome back. This is wow, can you realize we're in the last half of probably the last time you and I will do a Finding Common Ground episode? I'm kind of sad.
I know. I guess that means if I ever get time or bug up my pants that I'm like, hey, I need to talk some politics, I'm gonna have to come on your show, and then we can really piss people off. That'll be fun because no one listens to this.
Oh yeah, whatever. We actually have people listening right now. I've been talking to people.
That's fantastic.
Calm down. So anyway, we've been kind of all over the place today, so I've been giving you most of my opinions for the last half of the show. Why don't you give us your opinions on things that have happened since the election and all that fun stuff?
Okay, so I was actually going back and looking through because I've actually, since the election, I've posted more about politics on Facebook than I have in a long, long time. Probably because some of the stuff is actually really irritating me. And I've been trying to go back and go through and find, I remember some story that I found about the proposed budget. And I'm not able to find it because I wanted to kind of go through and talk about the things that are being eliminated that Trump wants to eliminate. And it's so funny because this guy is such a, I don't know him personally. I don't. From everything I can tell, he seems like just a bad person. I could be completely wrong. It could just be what he does for cameras. Maybe he's a loving and kind person to his family. I don't know. I really don't. But based on his behavior, in interviews on TV, based on things you hear from people who worked for him, based on just him on Twitter, the guy is a grotesque a-hole. But then he has done something. He has proposed a budget that is like the extreme of the extreme conservative ideal budgets. And it is it's basically he's taken what the Heritage Foundation has been trying to sell for years, and he's gone, okay, let's do this. And it's some scary crap. because so here's a perfect example. And, people might say, well, you're biased because you work for libraries. And to be fair, yes, I do work for a library system. And one of the proposed cuts in this budget that has been proposed is to completely eliminate the Institute of Museum and Library Services, otherwise known as IMLS. Now, I can tell you exactly what effect this would have on communities. I work in a small community. It's a town called Noble. So those of you who might be familiar with the greater Oklahoma City metro area, the metro area southwise goes down to Norman, Oklahoma, the home of the University of Oklahoma. Well, south of that, there are a bunch of other smaller towns. And the one directly south that honestly could be considered part of the metro area, but it's not, is this town called Noble. Its tax base is very, very small. They are one of the school districts in the state of Oklahoma that, because of budget cuts, has gone to 4-day school weeks, which has not been good for kids. I will be interested to see any long-term studies that happen if this goes on for a long period of time, to see how this affects kids' learning, because I suspect it's not going to be good. But we have received a grant and are doing programs for health literacy, because we also, much like Pawnee, Indiana, it is a very fat town, and it's not a very healthy town. And we've received grants to do things like we've got a Zumba class we're doing. We have multiple programs on health literacy that we're bringing to the community. And if this department goes away, then all of that stuff across the country will go away. And our library, we're in a good standing because we're in a good system. We're part of a 3-county library system. Our funding is fine. We get it from property taxes. So as far as that is concerned, we're okay. But there are a lot of libraries, little town single libraries, that depend on money from things like the Institute of Museum and Library Services. That's going to go away. And then also there is the getting rid of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which, I have said for years that the only really decent media news source in this country are the ones that aren't out there to make a profit, which are NPR and PBS, as far as actual news. And then you've got the National Endowment of the Arts, which is also proposed to be cut. And you look at these programs and how minuscule they are in the amount of money that the federal government spends. It's asinine to get rid of these things, to just build a 30-foot wall of Mordor between America and Mexico. But that's, to me, this is just one example, because one I could actually find the article on, because I don't spend much time with politics, because it will make your head hurt. My hat's off to you, man. I don't know how you do this, because I would have probably committed Harry Carey at some point, doing what you do. The hard work and hours, because I'm lazy as all get out. But B, paying attention to things that drive you crazy.
Nothing works here. The medications don't work. I've been here for 7 years.
That's usually how I sound at the end of a week when everything's going crazy like this one.
So yeah, that's the long and the short. That's kind of where my stance on things, and of course, the fact this man's behavior is so bad. I actually sent out a tweet/post the other day that this administration makes me miss Dick Cheney. Just let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. I think I would rather have Dick Cheney as vice president right now. Hell, I'd rather have Mike Pence as president. I disagree with him on pretty much everything, but at least I don't think he's crazy. He seems like a reasoned person. We disagree philosophically, and that is fine. But I don't think he's going to go off half-cocked and do something crazy.
You mean like throw cruise missiles at Syria with no notice?
Well, yeah, there's that. But it's crazy to think, and this is also how screwed up we are as a people. The president can say something on Twitter, and half the stuff this man says on Twitter is just crap because he's just saying stuff to say stuff. But it literally sends markets off the rails. Markets can fall and rise based on a freaking tweet. How screwed up is that? I mean, this man should realize, people pay attention to the bull crap I say, so maybe I should temper it a little bit and not just say whatever nonsense comes off the top of my head at all times. But then on the flip side, markets, governments, the populace should realize, this guy is just spouting off. We shouldn't, take as gospel or seriously everything he puts on Twitter. Because let's think about how often do we just rant about random things and it's like not really serious, or we get fed up about something and we say something that's kind of crazy and people look at you like, oh man, or more accurately, you think something. But no, he has no filter. So he puts it right out there on Twitter and people are reacting to this and it's not good. Not good. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
It's really not. I mean, my whole thing ever since candidate Trump became President Trump, he needs to put down the phone. He has people that can run his Twitter account for him. So the 3 a.m. sleep-deprived tirades on Twitter really need to stop, because if he thought they had an impact before, imagine the impact they would have now. Now, the interesting thing, going back to this whole Syria thing, because I didn't realize this until actually Dan and I went off the air last night. I went back and started looking for some of the tweets that candidate Trump had said about then President Obama, about how if he decided to do anything with Syria, he needed to go make sure he got approval for Congress. If he didn't, it would be bad, that there was really no reason militarily to attack Syria because it had no positive end game. Funny enough, all of those tweets have been deleted.
Shocker.
Interestingly enough, though, the folks that are helping President Trump navigate social media seem to forget that internet is forever, and people have screen captures of those very same tweets that have now been deleted because they've been throwing them around for the last several days going, hey, candidate Trump versus President Trump. Now, I get it. Things are different when you're a candidate versus when you're a president. He has access to more information now than he did before. So maybe there was a significant change. And a lot of the folks that I know that are involved in the military are standing behind what he's done for multiple reasons. And again, some of it makes sense. I mean, we were talking about it off the break. Or on the break, if for no other reason than being a great distraction on multiple levels, this was another instance of Trump seeming to play chess when everybody else was playing checkers, because he managed to get a lot of dominoes to fall the way that he needed them to fall from this one simple action. He also managed to avoid World War III by using the de-escalation line that Obama had set up with the Russian folks in Syria, because a lot of the folks on the left are, this is nothing but a smokescreen because he warned Russia first and gave them 30 minutes, and who knows how much they were able to get moved in that 30-minute time span. If he hadn't used that de-escalation line, we probably would be in the middle of World War III right now, because we would have hit Russian assets, and that would have been all it would have taken.
Yeah, and I actually heard I think it was yesterday on NPR, they were talking about how the images from those chemical attacks really, according to people who work with the president, really affected him. And so a lot of what he seems to do is just by his gut. And so if it is something where he saw kids harmed by chemical weapons and he went, oh, hell no, we have to do something, then okay. And then I have no problems with him calling up people and going, we're about to drop bombs. Get your people out of there. I don't want blood on my hands. I just want to destroy some crap. Then, okay, he's done nothing different than any other previous president. Do I think we should be randomly, willy-nilly dropping bombs on people? Hell no. Has he done anything that Barack Obama, Bill Clinton didn't do? No. Does that make it right? No. But it's not this end of the world. Oh my God, we're going to all die. My poor kids freaked out, man. And it was just, I felt so bad because now that they're 16 and 17 and they're aware of these things and they pay attention.
Your kids are that old now? I had no idea. Dude, I don't remember. When did your kids become nearly adults?
I know, right? I know, it's terrifying. And in fact, next year my daughter will be a senior in high school.
Oh my God, you're gonna be like in tears that whole year.
I am. It's not even. It's because I cry at the drop of a hat, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's bad, and it's.
I see all this conversation back and forth with you and Steve, and you're like, "Yeah, I watched that and I cried," and I'm like, "Dude, you need to go have your testosterone checked."
I probably do, but that's a whole other story. So one other thing that really has bugged me, and I took the time, not that it took that much time, but I emailed Congressman Tom Cole about this. House Bill 610, the voucher system proposed by Education Secretary Betty DeVos, which, can we talk about someone who is absolutely not qualified at all, zero, totally not for the job that she was given, not qualified in any way, shape, or form at all. Thank you very much. But this whole thing is so bad. So it basically dismantles the entire public education system. And it would have such long and horrific ramifications. That's not to say public education is perfect. It's far from perfect. It needs help. It needs to be fixed. This is not the way to fix it. And at least he sent me this nice letter back that basically said, "Thank you for contacting me. I appreciate your thoughts. I'm not on this committee, but I'll keep your thoughts in mind if or when it comes to the floor for a vote." And it was basically a blow off, but it was very nicely written. He actually signed it himself, which I'm sure was a stack of letters that he gets every day of like, "Sir, can you sign all these for us?" Sign here. And somebody sticks in an envelope and then it's done. But yeah, that is one of the things that bugged me about watching the transition of the Trump team. It's like every extreme activist that you could think of about something, whether or not they had qualifications for that, were given jobs, high jobs in these positions. Betsy DeVos is probably the worst case. She's never worked in education a day in her life. She has been an advocate to dismantle public education for decades. And so we're going to put her in charge of public education for the country. Horrible idea. We talked about the EPA earlier, Scott Pruitt, an anti-environmental guy, at least based on his actions and his lawsuits. We're going to put him in charge of our clean water and clean air. Okay, so that's crazy. And yes, I understand the EPA has done some overreaching, and if he's really just in there to rein that back a little bit, then that's fine. But we also need to go back and look at pictures of the country pre-EPA, post-EPA. We were a dirty freaking country, man. It was gross. So EPA, not all that bad. And just all these, you keep seeing these people. Now, the one person I will say who a lot of people are like, oh my God, I can't believe he appointed her to a cabinet position, was Linda McMahon, being head of small businesses. That is actually reasonable because she and her husband took literally a small regional business and turned it into a multinational corporation. So that is someone who's worked in small businesses. And this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm a pro wrestling mark, because I think the McMahons are horrible people. But I think you look at her past and what she's done. Is she reasonably qualified for this job? Yes. Just like old Judge G. Is Judge G reasonably qualified to be on the Supreme Court? Yes. So there. Is Betsy DeVos reasonably qualified to be the Secretary of Education? Oh, sweet Jesus, no. No. Million times over, no.
Oh.
No.
That's funny. Sorry, I actually got distracted by a meme on Twitter that I thought was kind of funny at the same time that you actually said that about Betsy DeVos. I really don't have much of an opinion on her. I really don't think she should be in the position that she's in. I also don't necessarily have a problem with the idea of vouchers, though, either. But, you know, that is just it is what it is. So anyway, back to what I was looking at that had me chuckling before I started laughing over you flipping a biscuit over Betsy DeVos. There's a meme going around, and it's a knock-knock joke between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. So it shows a picture of Donald Trump, got his phone up to his ear, and he's like, knock, knock, and then it shows Hillary, and she's like, who's there? And then it shows a picture of outside of the White House with a big bubble yelling, not you. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Oh, my, are people still passing that stuff around?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Okay, so here's the thing about this whole election of last year is both parties need to sit back and look and go, how did we not beat this other person? Because both parties nominated just crazy
terrible people.
Terrible people. And in both cases should have been able to soundly defeat either one. And it ended up being pretty darn close. Now, it just so happened that Trump was able to convince more people in the right places to come out to the polls than Hillary was. So it's just...
Dude, he seriously turned parts of Philadelphia into Trump country, which was kind of scary to me because I had heard that from multiple people, like a friend of the show and somebody that actually does some of the parody work on Twitter, goes by Beaker O'Donovan, was actually talking about a trip that he took to go visit his parents, and he was driving through what was predominantly up until this point a really blue collar Democrat section of Pennsylvania, and he was like, there were Trump signs everywhere. And I don't mean the closet little stick it on the corner of your back window, yay, I'm for Trump, but I hope nobody notices. I'm talking billboards that were pro-Trump in Pennsylvania. And that was when some of us that were kind of looking at this were like, maybe we really did get it wrong. Maybe he has found a way to resonate well enough with the blue-collar folks, which honestly makes no sense to me because the dude's never been anywhere near blue-collar, and he's I don't know. I don't know him personally either, but and from people that do know him, because I actually know people that have met him, they say that when you talk to him off camera, he's completely different than when he is on camera. And I kind of understand that because, you know me when I'm not on the air, and how much different am I in person than I am when I'm on the radio. Even, folks at CPAC noticed because JD, we were sitting at dinner one night with him and the other couple of folks that work on another station that we kind of work with, and everybody just looked at me and they're like, dude, is the only damn time you ever talk when you're on the radio? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, there is the thing, public persona versus your private persona. And when a camera's on, people tend to turn it up, turn up to 11 as they do on Spinal Tap. So yeah, the fact that Trump is probably a much nicer person when the cameras aren't on doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, I think a lot of people are. There are very few people who are just kind of who they are all over the place. Is you can't help it. A microphone goes on, you're standing in front of people, you get nervous, and different parts of your persona come out. But yeah, the fact that this man was able to convince blue collar folks who will in no way, shape, or form benefit from his policies to vote for him is incredible. He is the best snake oil salesman of all time. I mean, that's really what this dude is. He's a snake oil salesman, and he tapped into anger, and people are angry. The economy has stunk really, truly since the end of the Clinton administration. We teetered throughout the entirety of the Bush years, and then it hit the fan in 2008 and never really recovered all that well since then. So people are pissed. They don't, they're not as well off as they were. They have less opportunities, and they see they see the ultra rich and the pretty people getting all this stuff that they don't have, and it makes them angry. And then they point their anger at people that are different than them, and Trump tapped into that, man, better than anyone has in our lifetime. He tapped into anger in a way that we have never seen since you and I have been on this earth. And it's scary. And it's mob mentality. And it's funny. There are a couple guys that come into our branch, these couple of older brothers. They're really nice guys, but they are huge Trump supporters. They're not fond of Muslims. A lot of times they'll talk about having problems on the internet because they're trying to get to the Jerusalem Post. They read the Jerusalem Post a lot, and watch a lot of videos from a lot of the Christian TV networks. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. That's just what they do. But one of them we chat on a pretty regular basis. And it'll almost always come down to, or not almost always, but a lot of times politics will get involved, which I'm sitting there going, please stop talking, because as much as I should never, when I'm at work, voice my opinions on things, one of my biggest problems, and it's a personal problem, is I am painfully me, and that's just something I don't change. I am who I am, and if you don't like it, you can suck it. I am one of the nicest people you ever meet, but I am who I am. And sometimes he will just be talking, and I'll just have to stop and go, look, no. And he'll talk about Social Security a lot of times, and how the people in the office are idiots. And I'll have to stop, and I'll have to remind him, like, you realize that there are probably 3 or 4 people in that office that are all completely overworked, that are underfunded, underpaid, and are probably doing the best they can with what little they have. And so that'll stop him for a second, because the but then you can see that thing with his anger and whatnot. And then he tells a story one time. He went to Walmart. This cracks me up. And he's actually told me the story about 3 times. He went to Walmart. He bought something. And they scanned the thing so it doesn't beep when you go out the door. Well, beeped when he went out the door. He went back. They scanned it again. He went back out the door, beeped again. So he went to customer service. He got one of the managers, and he said, look, you have 2 choices right now. You can either give me my money back, or you can have someone walk to that door with me and watch until I get in my car and leave, because I know you have cameras all over this place, and I don't want you to come back and tell me I didn't pay for this. And I just looked at him. I was like, dude, seriously, no one there cares. If you were in the position of working in that store, would you go through the effort of doing that to a customer? He was like, oh, no. It's like, exactly. No one cares, man. Seriously. Is there some, shady, spooky back? And then he was like, well, Walmart, corporate, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, are there corporate security people? Sure. Are they going to come after you for whatever it is that you walked out and it beeped? No. But that's the mentality. Someone's always out to get you. You are always a victim. And Trump played into that so beautifully. And I don't mean this to be rude, but some of the people who are best at playing, everyone plays a victim card, but some people who do it best are really, really conservative religious people. Drop that victim card so fast. And Trump, even though religiously he has nothing in common with evangelicals at all, they bought into him, because by God, he tapped into their anger. And that's the lesson to be learned from the Trump presidency, is snake oil salesman who got into people's anger.
Yeah, that pretty much sums most of it up. And believe it or not, we're actually over the hour mark, but I didn't want to cut you off, so we're out of time.
No. Sad Panda. Well, but since we're over time anyway, what are your final thoughts on finding common ground?
My final thoughts on finding common ground is we need to actually find a way to find common ground. We need to remember that we are Americans first and foremost. I think that's one part of Trump's message that he got wrong. He kept saying that we need to put America first. No, we need to remember that we are Americans first. The hyphens don't matter. The skin color doesn't matter. None of that honestly matters. What matters is that we are Americans, and if we can't figure out a way to come together and actually remember that we are Americans, then none of this is ever going to work, because the more divided we are, the more willing we are to self-segregate, the more the government's going to win. And it doesn't matter who's going to be in charge of it, because they all pretty much want the same things now. That's another thing that this election cycle has taught me. It's something that I've been fighting with from the inception of the Facebook pages and the shows, because I remember having these thoughts way back in the day that there really was no difference between the two parties anymore. And there really isn't. All there is now is it's musical chairs. The arguments change. The arguments don't change, but the people making the arguments basically switch positions. And the only thing that really changes is where the money's going. And it's become this big, ginormous uniparty, and they basically keep us entrenched by telling us what we want to hear until we pull the lever, and then everything goes right back out the window again. And until we can learn that and remember that we are Americans first, and technically these folks are supposed to work for us, we're going to keep losing.
Yeah, pretty much. Because those in power want to keep their power, and the best way to do that is with bread and circus than to keep us down. So, yeah, stop living under people's boot.
And on that note, folks, we are out. It has been a pleasure for the last several years doing this on sometimes a daily, sometimes a weekly basis, even on the Facebook page, which still will continue, by the way. And like I said, this may not be the last episode of Finding Common Ground, but it will likely be the last one with us at the helm. But sad day for us, and again, so long. Thanks for all the memories. Thanks for those of you that have hung out over the years. Thanks for those of you that have actually helped make first K98 and now KLRN Radio the entity that it's become, because actually in the last several months it has officially become a business, and we wouldn't have kept trying to push so hard if not for so many of you that were giving us positive feedback all the time. So the station itself is in good footing. We still have plenty of programming. It's just we can't find a way to make this one work for the moment. We have a couple of folks that are looking at taking it up, and we will likely be discussing that with them in the future in the next few weeks. So this may not be the last one, but it's the last one with me and Dave, at least for the foreseeable future. So again, so long, take care, God bless, and remember, no matter what the media tells you, no matter what your government tells you, we are all Americans first.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.
Republicans and Democrats.